Hello, Sonny Bonani. It has just gone 7:32 Central African time. My name is Bob O'Connor. I'll be with you on commentary here today. Welcome to Breakaway League Racing. It's the top tier. We will have 36 laps in the main race, and it's another sprint race here in the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. 12 laps around the Interlagos circuit. This popular, beautifully dramatic circuit. We'll have 12 laps in the sprint and later on 36 in the main race. It's a reverse grid, so once again, the drivers towards the bottom of the championship have a golden opportunity to make sure that they put themselves in the reckoning for a potential solid start when the main race begins. Thank you for choosing Breakaway League Racing as your league of choice here tonight. Look forward to some drama. Look forward to some absolutely beautiful racing. As you can see on the screen, we have the champion represented here, the champion and the championship leader, that being Clay in the Haas. Former champion Titus is also here. Malusi the Malusi, that being Mello the Mello in the Mercedes, is also in the reckoning here today. So potentially we have a fantastic fight on our hands. Now, I did mention that it is a sprint race, 12 laps around this Interlagos circuit, and that, of course, means it'll be a reverse grid. So, practically speaking, who is at the bottom of the grid? It is Inati on just the single championship point. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Inati's available here for the race. That means M. Shengu, who sits P19 in the championship with 3 points, will quite likely be beginning the sprint race at the top of the pops, at the lead of the pack, if you will. Luddy in the McLaren is here. He currently sits P18 of the championship, just 7 points thus far. He's going to start third in this sprint. S. Buddha sits P17, 11 points. D-Wax is P16 in the championship on 12 points. Bad Kobe is P15 on 13 points. Tapiso is P14, 15 points. And Caboza has 16 points and P13. And Fundo for Alpine is not represented here today, but he sits 12th in the championship, 20 points. He's hand in hand or level on points alongside former champion Titus. P11 for Titus in the championship. Loveness, that being a Tato in the Alfa Romeo. He currently is slap bang in the middle of the championship, 26 points. P10 for him. Romeo Massinga, that being Mandler, he has racked up a fair few points in recent times, and including in the sprint race where he was looking absolutely solid in Imola last time out. He currently has 32 championship points, so it's been a decent string of recent races for Mandla. Let's see what he can do here today. And Gabo, that being Clay's teammate, currently sits 8th in the championship, 33 points, and above him on 49 points is Lungs in the Red Bull. Unfortunately, do not see him represented here today. Josh, aka Damnesia, has 60 points, P6 in the championship, and above him is Mello the Mello on 61 points in that W13 Mercedes. And above Malusi the Malusi, would you look at that? It's Zotile, who has steadily gotten to grips with, of course, racing on the steering wheel, and he has looked solid this year. 64 championship points, P4 in the championship standings for him. Seppo Temba is currently in P3 in the championship on 86 points. And then, of course, the top two by some margin is Brown Boy, 102 points. Brown Boy for Red Bull. The debutante in the top tier is already in the triple digits. Fantastic season for him. P2 in the standings, and Clay is top of the pops ahead by 106 points. 208 championship points for the defending two-time champion Clay in the Haas. Absolutely sensational stuff. Nobody has an answer for Clay on track, seemingly. Nor do they have an answer for him in qualifying. Let's see how the sprint race pans out. Reverse grid, of course. It's a golden opportunity for the likes of M. Shangu. What can he do? Looks like he might just be starting at the top of the pops here. Tepiso is here. I just want to make sure that I do mention his Prospect Cepiso is currently 14th in the championship, having racked up 15 championship points thus far. Welcome to Brazil, this also beautiful, challenging circuit. Of course, it starts off on an elevated portion of the track, down towards a heavy braking zone, that being turns 1, 2, and 3, kind of slaloms in a bit of an S section, if you will. And then it's the race all the way down to turn 4. It's quite a hilly circuit, so those brakes do come under significant pressure, especially in those first couple of sectors. And then towards the third sector, it is a climb all the way up to the main straight, where that DRS zone allows these drivers to open that rear wing up and look to gain some sort of a potential overtaking advantage. Thank you for choosing Breakaway League Racing. We will have our sprint race underway in just a minute or two. Let us go, says Lungello in the comments section. Lungello, it's always good to see you. Look forward to your comments and everybody else who will be joining us as proceedings get underway. Looks like we have clear skies out here in at this Interlagos circuit, so that's good news. And yeah, the rain could, of course, add a sprinkle or an element of drama for the sprint race, but not necessarily today. So let's see what the Tier 1, our top tier Breakaway League racing drivers can conjure here today. Absolutely looking forward to it. There's no qualifying. We're going straight into the sprint race with that reverse grid, remember? And let's see how it all pans out. I absolutely cannot wait.
Ya na aspect utabo abare no bom shenko baso pa kancha. Om shenko ya ba ingamnya, jo ngamnya. Ya so maybe because struggle nyana gule chewa mara. So kala piwa. Abana ngai keep that clean, no mistakes. No, ngaba kai headache.
Yes, Mshengu could give them quite a lot to think about. We saw Sequay put on another master class last time out in Imola with a last to first challenge, if you will. Started all the way at the back and clawed his way through the grid, did Sequay, and wound up right at the front of the pack. It was beautiful stuff from the two-time champion and the championship leader. I tell you what, we certainly look forward to some beautiful racing from Sequay, as is customary again. Do you expect a different sprint race this time out? Let us know in the comment section. I, for one, would not be surprised to see Sequay involved in fight after fight as far as potential overtakes are concerned once again. Beautiful stuff in Prospect. Let's see how it all pans out. It's the countdown now, about just over 10 seconds before we get this underway. Lungello reckons Sequay will finish top 5. I would not bet against that. Smirch Django says, is Sequay doing a Hamilton today? Will he channel the 7-time Formula 1 champion as we're about to get this formation lap underway? Well, wouldn't that be something? That'll certainly be really, really beautiful stuff if you can do it. No surprises in the sense that none of these drivers are taking risks as far as tire compounds are concerned. Everybody on a set of medium compound tires. Of course, no need to pit in this sprint all the way to the end of lap 12. And only the top 8 drivers rack up points as far as the sprint race is concerned. So everybody right now, as things stand, everybody up to Loveness would be in the points. But Mandla being Mandla, well, he's going to want to have something to say about that. Mandla started off the season fairly quietly. He had a string of 9th place finishes. In fact, 4 consecutive finishes of 9th place for Mandla. And then in Singapore, it was an improvement, finished P8. And, of course, had a very, very good day in the sprint race in Imola. But in the main race, he finished P9 again. So that P9 spot seems to be quite fond of Mandla. But let's see what the AlphaTauri driver can do here today. A golden opportunity for him to finish in the points in the sprint race. He looked absolutely solid last time out. So let's see what he can do, what he can conjure this time around. Lunghello says Seaclay will do that. He will pull a Hamilton, top 5 in the sprint, and then win the race. Well, wouldn't that be something? Definitely looking forward to seeing whether or not those predictions will be anywhere near correct. Oh, Fensei says he pulled it off at Imola. He won the sprint all the way from the back. Of course, got a lot more people to overcome this time out. Look at that. Lungs is here. Brown Boy is here. The Red Bull boys are going to give Seaflay a lot to think about. And Shengu was running not necessarily at the front of the pack. He might have trouble placing that car, and yes, indeed, that is the case. Liddy also has an opportunity, golden opportunity, to put on a hell of a fight. Watch out for Buddha as well. Fantastic racer. If you could just minimize those mistakes and keep it together. But it looks like the last of the drivers have placed those cars in their correct positions. Let's see whether or not they can get it together over here. Welcome to the sprint race. Let's get a sense of the change of position. Oh, Ludi has crashed out at the beginning of the race, but Mshangu leads the pack from Buddha from Bankobi, who gained 4 places at the race start. Look at that. It's Sapito. It's a double spin. Mshangu falls. He led the pack, but Bankobi has taken that, and Mshangu's going to have to fight back. Tapiso now to P2 from Kaposa. Look at that. Kaposa is now the man chasing the top 2. D-Wax has managed to hang on to the top 4 there. He's still there and thereabouts, and Lund is up to P6 as Buddha, who I was asking you to keep an eye out for. Well, he slipped down 3 places, and Mandla is now up to P7, gaining 2 places since the start of the race. Yellow flags, a virtual safety car to begin proceedings here, but Kaposa has lost the wing. He will have to come in. Oh, penalties are racking up. Look at that. Lungs, Romeo, Seppo, Temba, and Loveness racking up penalties. All sorts of penalties here at the start of the sprint race, and that'll cost them heavy. Van Kobe in the prime position, having started this dramatic lap 1. Liddy again does not capitalize. Laments Man Ray in the comment section. Van Kobe has to slow down to watch his delta. You do not want to get a time penalty, 5-second penalty for speeding under safety car conditions. To be so. P2 for the Ferrari driver. What a day for him. Meanwhile, championship leader Seaclay has gained 3 places since the start. Let's hop on board with Tapiso. Capoza comes into the pits to fit on a new wing. D-Wax takes that P3 spot. Van Kobe hugs the apex of turn 1. Tapiso is tighter through turn 2, but he keeps it together. Van Kobe manages to build a little bit of a gap, a half a second between the top 2, but Tapiso will look to have something to say about that. He is draining the battery. Is the Ferrari driver? The gap is now down to less than 3/10. Oh my gosh, coming into that left-hander. Tapiso hangs on to the coattails of Van Kobe by a factor of half a second. D-Wax, meanwhile, has been the beneficiary of all that drama in that first lap, which brought out a virtual safety car. Lungs has a time penalty to contend with, but finds himself about 1.5 seconds ahead of Buddha in P5. A lot of work for the Williams driver to do. His teammate is now at the back of the pack. So we'll hope, of course, that Will Caboza for some more drama out here. Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, has gained a couple of places. He's up to P6. Remember, all of the drivers started on a set of medium compound tires, and right now looks like a fight is on between Brown Boy and Malusi the Malusi. It's the battle for P8. Here comes the oh-so-confident rookie as far as his Tier 1 season is concerned. Brown Boy, let's hop on board. Look how close he runs to the back of Malusi the Malusi, who is no slouch, you will remember. Malusi the Malusi in the Mercedes, the man who's challenged the top runners, but Brown Boy will go side by side. It's wheel-to-wheel racing, and Brown Boy gets ahead on the main straight. Can Malusi fight back before turn 1? It is going to be a hell of a scrap, but Malusi does not seem to have the pace. Brown Boy in a straight line, absolutely sensational. Malusi is going to brake as late as possibly can, but Brown Boy keeps it tight into turns 1 and 2. Malusi has to slow down, almost into the back of that Red Bull there. But as Malusi chases Brown Boy, he has to contend with this man. It's Loveness chasing in that Alfa Romeo, so do not discount Loveness. Of course, we know he can absolutely put you under immense pressure in the route kind of situation. Brown Boy is ridiculous, says Christopher Seikau and Keze, aka Crash. And absolutely, yes, he is. Brown Boy's going to be one to watch as far as the climb up to the top is concerned. Remember, last time out, it was Brown Boy and Seaclay fighting and climbing through this grid. Right now, Seaclay is about 1.7 seconds behind that three-way fight between Loveness, Brown Boy, and Malusi the Malusi. Let's see how close he can get as they look to make their way up this hill towards that main straight. Is Brown Boy on a wheel or controller? I believe it might be a controller. Further ahead, looks like Sepultemba might have had a little bit of an issue. Oh, someone's gone off. It's two cars. It's Sepultemba. Who's had a huge moment. He's fallen. And Brown Boy's crashed out with a DNF for Brown Boy. Who we were watching closely. That is the wreckage of Brown Boy, surpassed by about 3 cars. And a golden opportunity it could have been for Brown Boy, but he is out. He's going to have to start the main race from the back of the pack, and he will be kicking himself. But it's good news for this man, who could have been really challenged by Brown Boy. And Ciclay now, as the safety car seems to be coming out. Yes, it's a full safety car out here in Brazil. Ciclay will be thanking his lucky stars that Brown Boy, one of his biggest threats, his biggest challenges, is out of proceedings here in Brazil. So Ciclay finds himself, as we get a sense of the penalties thus far, it's a bit of a free-for-all, 5-second penalties for collisions mainly in that first lap, which brought out the virtual safety car. Ciclay will be thanking his lucky stars that his main threat as far as a sprint race win was concerned, one of his main threats, that being Brown Boy, is out, joining Liddy T in the paddock as McLaren and Red Bull respectively have their work cut out to make sure those cars are ready. Mshengu speeding under the safety car will have to serve a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, it's been calm, cool, collected, controlled from Ban Kobe, leading the pack. For McLaren out in the front, it's been uneventful for him. He had an absolutely storming start and elbowed his way up to P1 and has held on there unchallenged. And the latest challenger, Tipiso in the Ferrari. No penalties for the top 3. D-Wax is keeping it clean and cool and calm in P3. It looks like Lungs, meanwhile, has had network issues. Yeah, the ghost of Lungs follows D-Wax. And is running in P4 as things stand. So Lungs will be hoping to regain his place here and reestablish network connection. Malusi the Malusi, P5 for him. What can he do now that the pack is getting bunched up behind the safety car in lap 5, soon to be 6 of 12 in the sprint race? Loveness has to contend with that 5-second penalty, currently running P6, and behind him on the hunt is Ciclay, who will be grinning from ear to ear now that the pack will be bunched up once again. Sepultemba had that huge incident, and eventually, of course, we saw Brown Boy crashing out. P8 currently for the Ferrari driver, chased by Zotal in the Alpine, flying the flag high, the only driver representing Alpine here today, and Caboza currently P10. He'll be looking to gain at least 2 places to be within the sprint race point. As Buda is catching up to the rest of the pack, of course, under safety car, some of the field, especially those towards the back, have just used this opportunity to come in for a set of soft compound tires. So do expect them to have something to say as far as the end of this sprint race is concerned. Hoping for at least 6 laps of solid racing and hopefully no more DNFs, fingers crossed. But the safety car is making its way, still leading the pack here. Romeo and Nebo and Mshengu riding off the pack on those soft tires. But looks like Loveness and Sepultemba have decided to come in, presumably for those soft tires. And as Sepultemba comes in, of course, he has to serve that 5-second time penalty before the pit crew can make those changes. But he is now all good and set. And his battle at the back of the pack will be against Loveness. And let's see whether or not Sepultemba can redeem himself here. Lungs is back, no longer ghosted. He will have to, of course, reckon with that 5-second time penalty at the end of proceedings in the sprint race. But what can he do now? As the pack, led by Ban Kobe behind the safety car, weaves left and right, getting tire temperature up, getting that heat into the tires so that they can make sure that they have optimal grip when proceedings get back underway. Ciclay versus Mello versus Lungs is going to be amazing. Says Smircha Django, absolutely. Offense says, we're looking forward to the addition of Brown Boy in the mix. But of course, Brown Boy tragically crashing out there. And what happened? Brown Boy He pretty much crashed off camera just as we were watching a battle behind him. He became the second and hopefully final driver to crash out here. And some commiserations coming through for Brown Boy there. And let's see how Ban Kobe will fare. Safety car going around again. Brown Boy, I got brake check, says Brown Boy. That's how he lost his place. Says Brown Boy, super disappointed. We were watching his charge up the field. We saw that's a beautiful overtake that Brown Boy effected, but could not make it to the end of the race. So now it is up to these remaining drivers. Ban Kobe from Sapiso from Engawako, aka D-Wax, McLaren, Ferrari, and AlphaTauri in the top three. What can these people, these folks, these super talented drivers do? Man, I absolutely cannot wait. Of course, points are at a premium here. Precious opportunity for the likes of Ban Kobe and D-Wax, particularly, who are positioned, of course, towards the bottom part of the championship table. Golden opportunity. He just needs to keep it together. Had a beautiful start, did Ban Kobe, and now he's in prime position. Where exactly will Ban Kobe start to send it? And he, of course, will be looking to catch Sapiso and D-Wax unawares and catch them napping. Championship leader, Seaclay, is behind his nemesis, Malusi the Malusi, sandwiched between Malusi and Zotile. Three drivers, of course, who've given us such phenomenal entertainment throughout the seasons. The safety car is coming in this lap. This battle between P5, 6, and 7 is going to be absolutely sensational to watch. S. Lindo says Sapiso will lose that position when the safety car comes in. Crash says the front three are on the verge of getting bullied. Here it goes. We're on board with D-Wax. Ban Kobe has stolen a march by a factor of 1.5 seconds. He is absolutely sending that McLaren. Sapiso is trying to defend from D-Wax, but let's see if Sapiso can get any closer to Ban Kobe. Right now, the answer is no. That gap is about 1.3 seconds. D-Wax falling even further behind. And it looks like the big battle taking place is between Malusi and Lungs. And Malusi is side by side with Lungs. And Malusi is ahead, coming into the left-hander. Oh no, not exactly. Lungs hangs on, and he comes the inside line. Seaplay will be watching this, of course, knowing that there's a potential opportunity to take full advantage here. We're on board with the championship leader. The champion looking to pick off Lungs for that P5 spot. Has to brake so late there, coming also close to making contact with the back of the Red Bull, but not quite. Ban Kobe leads from Sapiso, from D-Wax, from Malusi ahead of us, and of course we have Lung in P5, right ahead of the hat that we're on board with. Ban Kobe is strong in Brazil, says Man Ray in the comment section. Well, he needs to keep it together for a couple more laps, and he will have a memorable P1 finish in the sprint race, but it's a long way to go, of course, with the likes of Seaplay battling. Malusi the Malusi wants to go, has affected that overtake, and now he's looking to take the P3 spot of D-Wax. He goes almost side by side with the AlphaTauri. Malusi the Malusi's on the outside line. Lungs is going to be on the inside, but Malusi goes up to P3, coming into turn 1. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he does. And even Lungs has gone through on D-Wax, who is side by side with Seaplay now, coming out of that turn, and Seaplay's gone ahead, and now D-Wax is on the verge of being overtaken. He does get overtaken by Zotile. D-Wax losing so many positions in the space of about 3 turns. It is absolutely sensational stuff. And what a recovery from Seaplay and Malusi the Malusi. You would remember they started so far towards the bottom, and right now they're fighting it out for a podium place. Lung still has to reckon with that time penalty. I told you, says Crash, who reckoned that the front three were going to get bullied. Right now, will Sapiso get bullied as we watch Seaplay take a peek on the inside of the Red Bull? Lungs will not make it easy. Neither will Malusi the Malusi. So Seaplay will be held back, and as he does so, Sapiso has a golden opportunity to keep his composure and keep right on going as at the back of the pack, even M. Shango has come back into the pit once again, possibly for a wing change. M. Shango having a heartbreaking nightmare day here. This is on board with the championship leader. What can he do here? Chasing the Red Bull. He takes the peak on the outside. Will he tuck it to the inside? Yes, he does. But he's not close enough to affect that overtake. Lucy hands on to P3, the final podium spot in the sprint race. Seaclay is absolutely sending it, not giving anything away. Meanwhile, D-Wax, who lost so many places, has also been overtaken by Kaboza. And behind D-Wax now is a teammate, Mandla, aka Romeo. Absolutely beautiful stuff here. Let's see if D-Wax can reclaim that P7 spot that he's fighting for now against Kaboza in the Williams. Kaboza and Esbuda, of course, the two drivers holding the hopes of Williams in their very hands. Seaclay is on the verge here, tucked right behind. Lungs here, can he get it done? As Seaclay looks to take advantage, Zotal is hanging back. Zotal is laying in the cut, as they say on the streets, looking to take full advantage of a potential overtake here. Potentially, yes, it could be. But Zotal just has to keep it together here. He's got the front row seats to the battle taking place ahead of him. And Seaclay tucked into the slipstream ahead of us. He's tucked into the slipstream behind the Red Bull. Will he weave left to the right? The Red Bull breaks the slipstream. Seaclay will go on the outside, and Seaclay gets that overtake done. Does he get it done? No! Lungs keeps on. They almost make a little bit of contact. It's beautiful racing coming through these slaloming turns in the beginning part of this circuit here in Interlagos. And this is such beautiful news for Van Kobe and Tapiso, who so far since the restart have gone unchallenged. Beautiful racing, beautiful battling all through here. Reminder, Van Kobe stole the march at the beginning of this sprint. He's in P1 at the race restart. He stole the march on Tapiso, and he's managed to hang on and has been racing without incident. Let's get back to the battle now. It's the DRS train and beautiful stuff from Malusi to Malusi all the way through to D-Wax. Oh, and as I say that, Zotal and Kaboza go side by side. Zotal hangs on to B6, tucked right behind Seaclay. So Kaboza almost took advantage of a moment of napping there from Kaboza, but did not. From Kaboza almost took advantage of Zotal, but could not get that done. Seaclay, for the third time, for the fourth time, is looking to take Lungs' position, but Lungs has kept composure thus far. Wibbly positioned it. Seaclay thinks about it. Lungs weaves left and right and tucks back in between the Mercedes and this pass. And Seaclay can smell the fumes. He's so tired of the fumes coming out of that Honda engine. Lungs has been positioning his car absolutely perfectly as we are now into the final lap of the race. Lungs' red light is flashing. Seaclay has 24% worth of battery power remaining. So Lungs is going to have to be absolutely perfect with the positioning of that car. Meanwhile, as I say that, it looks like Van Kobe has lost the initiative. Remember, Van Kobe did have a gap of about a second and a half, and right now it is down to less than a second. It's hovering at around about the 1 second mark, so he's going to have to keep it together on this final part as they're going to make their way up the hill towards the main straight after this sequence of corners. Van Kobe takes the left-hander and goes down the hill, and as he does so, he is now out of DRS. Lunds versus Seaclay versus, look at that, Zotal in the middle of the pack. It's going to be absolutely beautiful towards the end. But let's give the due props to Van Kobe, who fought his way to the top of the pops, to the front of the pack, and he will cross the line, the sprint line, P1, Tapiso P2, Malusi third, Seaclay fourth, Zotal fifth, Kaboza P6, and Lungs 5-second penalty costing him. He's out of the points. D-Wax and Romeo round off the drivers finishing in the points in this sprint race. Mandla will take the final single point. Lungs P9, and oh my word, we also have Esbuda, Nebo, Tempo, Lugness, and M. Shangu rounding it off. What a beautiful sprint race. Oh, what a beautiful taste for hopefully some similar levels of battling out here in Brazil. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Let's go, said Crash, cheering them on in the comment section. Guzu, Lungs, codenamed Guzu, held his own and kept Seaclay at bay. That whole battle was working perfectly for Tep, says Lindo in the comments. It was a DRS train, absolutely. Tabo T92 with the fire emojis in the comments.
apha babhizi ngama-cooler box abomelusi nabosihla nabozothile bekuyi-convoy vele.
Yes, it was a convoy, a beautiful DRS train that we saw there. Lungs losing all those places courtesy of that time penalty. Lungs' straight line speed is out of this world, says Django. Lungs out of the points just like that. Nintendo says such a tight race, proof that all these drivers, all these racers, deserve to be in Tier 1. What a beautiful sprint race we had. Absolutely stunning stuff. The results of the sprint race there. Absolutely mouth-watering race in prospect out here in Brazil, especially if the rain stays away and it's similar dry conditions. And of course, the heartbreaking thing is that the likes of Brown Boy could have been involved here were it not for his DNF. And who knows what he could have been doing. As I say that, it is pouring with rain. It is absolutely pouring. Full wet tire conditions, perhaps. It doesn't even look like a set of intermediate tires will be slapped on these cars. Look at those wet puddles in the pit lane there. And, we could expect to see a lot of those around the track. As of course we're about to begin this race properly in prospect. So these drivers, I expect are going to have those wet tires and are going to try to clear as much of the standing water as possible. And these tire compounds do clear quite a lot of water as they make their way around the track. And that, of course, will be the racing line that they'll try to stick to. Try not to get onto those wet patches and find yourself sliding, aquaplaning, losing that car. That, of course, is what you're going to have to avoid. So they're going to have to be easy on the throttle. This, of course, is definitely not exactly the best place to be having full wet tire conditions. Of course, it's a very technical track and now being made that much harder. So let's see what these drivers can do in these conditions. Well, we've seen Loveness. He's one to watch in wet weather. And Josh Damnesia is not here today, but, he would have had a lot of fun around here. But C-Clay being C-Clay, he's also won his fair share of races in these conditions. Let's get a sense of the tire strategies thus far. Full wets! Definitely not a place to be trifling with intermediate tire conditions. Look at all those puddles all over the track. Those are the ones you're going to have to try and clear as these drivers mark out this racing line. Inati is here. Of course, he drives for Aston Martin, but today he's commandeered, seemingly, the Alpine, that being the Alpine belonging to M. Flindo, who was not racing here today. So let's see what Inati can do. He's fighting his way from the back. Liddy, who was the first to crash out with a sprint race, he will have to keep Brown Boy. He will have to hang on to Brown Boy, rather. Looks like Liddy has had a network issue. It's the ghost of Liddy out here. Sadly for him. Hopefully he can get back into the session. But making his way, leading the pack is Bad Kobe, and that beautiful camera angle giving you a sense of just how hectic it is. The rain was falling at an angle straight into the helmets of these drivers. Liddy was load shed, sadly, so he's not in the car. And that's a P-Sil, currently P2. And the Malusi, what a day for him, P3. He's going to be one to watch throughout this race here. Malusi versus C-Clay versus Zotile versus Kaboza. P3 to 6. Man, beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then it's the AlphaTauri duo of Ngawako, D-Wax, and Romeo, a.k.a. Meandla. Lungs, codenamed Guzu, gave us some beautiful entertainment in the sprint race. Definitely hoping for more of the same here. Let's see what Guzu can do. Espuda, P10. And Nebo, C-Clay's teammate, is going to be hoping to claw his way as close as possible to his champion teammate. Loveness, he's one to watch in these conditions. Seppo Temba, of course, currently sitting in the top 3 of the championship standings. Keep an eye out for him as well. Well, let's get a sense of how this race will go. It is 4 lights, It is almost lights out. The only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out, and Bankobi leads the pack from Tapiso, from Malusi to Malusi. He hangs on to P1. Look at Seaplay tucking in between the McLaren and the Mercedes. Seaplay's up to P2 before turn 1. Beautiful stuff from the champion, and it's a fight. Tapiso is fighting with Kapoza, and he slips behind the Williams driver right now. Tapiso, nightmare start, but Seaplay, absolutely beautiful stuff. Yellow flag through sector 1, and thankfully not an early safety car here, but oh my word, before the first turn, Seaplay hangs on to P2 from Malusi, who's in P3. M. Shangu seemingly spun out and is the first driver to crash out. M. Shangu, nightmare scenario once again, and it looks like yellow flags, virtual safety car. Absolutely beautiful stuff from Seaplay, who now leads. Not sure why Bankobi fell all the way back. Perhaps some trouble braking. He's going to fight his way back to P1, or perhaps P2 if the stewards deemed him too slow there. Back down to, well, P2 now for Bankobi. I'm not sure if Sika will give that position back. And Nebo left the session. Heartbreaking stuff. Hopefully he can find his way back. He gained one place, did Nebo, before leaving the session. Malusi to Malusi P3. Kaboza gained 2 places. Tapiso, we saw him struggle at the start of the race. M. Shengu, who crashed out, has just left the session. Zotao lost a place. P6 for the Alpine driver. We're still under yellow flag. It's still that virtual safety car. Just want to make sure we do not miss the end of the VSC here. And we'll see whether or not Bankobi and Seaplay will swap places when it's a race. Oh, they made contact! It looks like it might have been Bankobi and Seaplay making contact. Did Bankobi lose a wing there? VSC is over, and Bankobi is absolutely chasing him to reclaim that spot. He does. Seaplay might just have relented, but Bankobi is missing a front right wing end plate. Oh, he's going to fall down the pack. Seaplay reclaims that race lead, and Malusi to Malusi should go without a challenge over here. Could it have been a desync? Asks Liddy. Perhaps. Oh, but Bankobi, who's in a prime position, goes off track. Oh, no, he's struggling for grip. He's struggling for downforce, having lost a portion of his front wing, and he's going to have to come into the pits in lap 2 of 36. So at least we'll expect him to do so. And as he does so, the gap between Seaplay and Malusi to Malusi already before the end of lap 2 is 2.1 seconds. And Kaboza follows closely behind. But of course, in these tricky conditions, he's not being too risky as far as trying to go for an overtake are concerned. The Williams driver playing it safe. Yellow flag, sector 2. Who is that for? I wonder. Tapiso is currently in P5 ahead of Lunds, who gained 3 places at the race start. Teppo Temba moved up 6 places. And looks like there's a car that might have spun. Bankobi comes into the pits. And he comes into the pits. Loveness is hanging on to P7, but that'll watch that change. Of course, as Bankobi is now into the pits. What happened to Zotal? He's the one that spun. He spun, did Zotal, and now he's coming into the pits. Oh, can you hear the back of the Ferrari? Almost. It is a 4-way of Bankobi, Tapiso, Zotal, and Espuda currently in the pits in these super wet conditions. And if it's going to stay this way for the rest of the race, then, well, it's pretty much the only pit stop that they're going to have to make. So it's one to watch absolutely carefully. Teppo Temba is currently P5, sandwiched between the Williams and the Alfa Romeo of Loveness. How will he fare now, as the gap between P1 and 2 is 3.7 seconds? Seaplay, again, leading the pack, unchallenged. And now Malusi's going to have to keep things tight as that gap extends to about 4 seconds. And there's a hell of a scrap happening here. And Nebo's, of course, have been ghosted, but it's the ghost train here, yeah. And Nebo, Liddy, they're both ghosted. What about Brown Boy? Also ghosted. Oh, man. It looks like Inachi is one of the only active drivers here, so he's not going to have too much of a challenge to overtake those ghosts. As Seaplay sets a fastest lap, 121.681. At the back of the pack is Zotal, who has a recovery drive in prospect here. And ahead of him is the Ferrari of Tapiso. Rounding off the back of the pack is Espuda, who has pitted, remember. So it's been a fair amount of carnage here, with just 4 laps of racing having taken place. And the race leaders are now making their way into turn one rather than the race leader because Malusi the Malusi is about 4.2 seconds behind. Kaboza versus Lungs is a battle to watch. The two former teammates, great friends, but of course here, nothing is being left to chance. Kaboza will not be smiling at his former teammates. He will be looking to effect an early overtake here. Can he get it done? Kaboza, who used to drive for Red Bull once upon a time, now in the colors of Williams, has to contend with Seppo Temba himself. Let's hop aboard with a Ferrari driver now. Someone who's been absolutely sensational in his own right this season. Seppo Temba, best place finish of P2 in Singapore. Oh, Lungs goes wide. Kaboza says, thanks very much. And Seppo Temba will look to have the inside line coming into this left-hander. But Lungs manages to keep that advantage. Oh, he slips and slides. Lungs struggling for grip. Oh, they were side by side. They make contact. And Lungs goes into the grass and slips all the way down to P6. Mandla is going to have a golden opportunity here to overtake the Red Bull. Here comes Mandla. Lungs is now ahead by a factor of about 2.5 seconds. That gap shrinking and shrinking. Now into the 1.9. Mandla can smell a potential P6 spot here. Lungs struggles for grip. Found himself crashing into those advertising boards on the side there. And he's still struggling. Has an almighty spin. I don't know what's happening with Guzu, but he's going to have to regain composure and fight his way up. He was in such a great position, but now languishing in P8, and Mandla did not have to fight. In fact, both AlphaTauris affected that overtake, and he now languishes in P8. Seppo Temba is chasing Kaboza as Esbuda becomes the second person to crash out. Esbuda is out of the race. Yellow flag sectors 2 and 3. Esbuda and Kaboza were racing together. Of course, it's such a rare occasion that you have a full representation of drivers courtesy of load shedding. Now all of Williams' hopes rest on the hands of this man in front of Seppo Temba, Kaboza. Esbuda is out, and it's the safety car coming out again in lap 5 of 36. Oh, Esbuda will be kicking himself, reeling. But, of course, as these two slow down to keep within the delta, trying not to get penalized for speeding on their safety car, the pack will be bunched up again. The pack will be bunched up once again. Look, Esbuda needed those points. He crashed out. Esbuda currently sits P17. Just 11 championship points that Esbuda had before this race. So today was such a great opportunity for him to find himself in the reckoning for another points finish. But he's out. Wandel Shezi says Esbuda is smelling Tier 2 next season. Well, Tier 2 will be rolling out the red carpet for Esbuda if he does not get it together. Now, this is interesting. Loveness is the first man to fit a set of intermediate tires. Oh, in lap 6 has a bit of a slide there. In the Loveness hits the wall in the pit lane. Loveness crashed.
Oh, mara Loveness wenzani? Ku pit lane phika itayara la ka Loveness laphaya.
Loveness crashes in the pit lane. He was the first man to put intermediate tires, and he's out of the race. Oh, Lungs is the second man, and, well, they'll be telling him in the team radio that, hey, watch out for how fast you come out of that pit lane, because that is exactly where Loveness lost it. Oh, Loveness crashes in the pit lane before the pit exit. Oh my word, Lungs makes it out the pit lane unscathed, and as he does so, Ban Kobe and Zotao will become the second and third drivers to fit intermediate tires, perhaps for the rest of this race, depending on weather conditions.
Atu offensive movie of the day. Angazi Loveness ukuthi bezikhipha maybe bekhalela leya sanarate when yeseli sanarate avele wacha yabo.
Well, in the leading pack, Malusi the Malusi is one of the first to come in, perhaps also blinking first, if you will, or just being the first among the top runners to fit those intermediates. But look at that gap. It's not a bad decision for intermediates, especially if this works out to be the faster tire for the rest of this race. There was such a big gap between these top four and Mandla, who is still making his way towards the pit entry. Man, Offense says the pit lane showed no love for Loveness. Loveless says Man Ray. Here comes a Mandla into the pit lane. Teammate B-Wax surpasses him. And all this drama has brought the likes of Luddy back into the reckoning. Luddy and Brown Boy, remember, who started off at the back of the pack. Oh yeah, but it's the ghost of Liddy and Brown Boy, so yeah, that would have been beautiful stuff for them. But Inaki then is the man to watch because he's now in the points. Interestingly, chose not to pit. Did the Aston Martin driver today in command of Enfundo's Alpine Cepiso. Had a dramatic start to his race, but is still running. That car is still on track. P10 for him. And Lungs Meandla, who has just come out of the pits. Lungs and Meandla and Bankobi and Zotal rounding off the rest of these runners here. Mandla, P12. We're still under safety car. If you've just joined us, it's been a fairly dramatic main race. We had a beautiful sprint race, chock full of battles and some sublime, sensational wheel-to-wheel racing. And now in lap 7 of 36, the second safety car has come out. Sequay, your championship leader, leads the pack, and he has just opted to finally come in. And as he does so, Seppo Temba gambles to stay out on track on those wet compound tires. How far back will Sequay and Kaboza fall as they finally come to the pits, presumably for intermediate tires as well? Well, D-Wax had yet to pit. Neither has Enebo, or rather the ghost of Enebo. Well, it's the ghosted trio. Inati, what will he do? Will he finally come in? No, is the answer. He stays out, hoping to gain an advantage as far as track position is concerned. As you can see, there's a, well, not necessarily a dry patch, but there's certainly a clearly demarcated racing line that has been drawn out, if you will, since this race has started. And as the weather starts to get more and more forgiving, that line will dry out more and more. And expect the intermediate tire runners to have something to say, to have a lot to say as this race continues. Now, Sequay, having pitted later, did not lose too much. He's now P3, and Seppo Temba might be in trouble at the race restart from the inter-tire runners. And Sequay will just have to contend with Malusi and Seppo Temba ahead of him. Kaboza, still there and thereabouts, P4. What a day it would be for the Williams driver if he can hang on here to that P4 spot. Kaboza's best finish of the season so far has been 5th place. The safety car is coming in. Kaboza's 5th place was all the way back in Baku. So if he hangs on here, oh man, what a day that would be. And he can be comforted by the fact that Enebo is ghosted, of course. The two cars behind him are ghosted. And if they do not rejoin the race, then what a result that would be for Kaboza. Absolutely. The safety car is coming in to this lap. Seppo Temba weaves to the left and the right. Let's hop on board with the people running Kaboza. Seppo Temba has sent it. Seaflay has not been caught off guard too much. It's a straight fight towards turn 1. Kaboza takes a peek on the inside, but he's nowhere near close enough. And Seaflay is who? Ahead of Malusi the Malusi, who now slips to P3. Oh, let that a turn 1 overtake from the Haas driver. Malusi has now to contend with Kaboza as Seaflay already coming towards this straight towards the left-hander is on the verge of reclaiming the race lead before the end of the first lap after the safety car. This is the onboard with the Haas driver. He goes on the inside. The track is going to narrow out here, and will they make contact here? See, there's an extra relent. Inati has retired from this race. Seppo Temba does not relent. He's still on the inside, but Seaflay goes ahead, coming out of that right-hander, and Seaflay reclaims the race lead as we get a yellow flag for Inati having crashed out there in Sector 2. Seppo Temba is now down to P2, and Malusi the Malusi, who really struggled for grip at the restart, is now in P3 with Seppo Temba and Kaboza both in front of him and behind him respectively. What can Kaboza do? It's not another virtual safety car. It's back to green flags. Inati's wreckage has been cleared. Inati becoming the 4th driver to crash out of this race. Kaboza has a bit of a twitch, loses momentum, loses so many tenths. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Malusi the Malusi, who streaks away as Seaclay, of course, is back in the race lead in lap 10 of 36. He is well and truly in control of this race. What about Bankobi? Once upon a time, he led this race, remember? He is chasing D-Wax, the AlphaTauri driver, as it looks like one of the Ghost and Level has come into the pits. What can Bankobi do here? Can he get a bit of a switcheroo through the right-hander? After the right-hander, he gets a cleaner exit, almost goes into the back of D-Wax, but D-Wax will be punching his battery, but Bankobi's straight line speed is superior. Coming into the left-hander, he gets the advantage. He's up to P7 is the McLaren driver. D-Wax is going to have to fight it out and look to regain some sort of an advantage. Bankobi versus D-Wax is a battle to watch. Meanwhile, Malusi the Malusi seems to have gotten some temperature and therefore some grip into those intermediate tires. He is now on the back of Teppo Temba. He is applying the pressure, Teppo Temba, as these conditions dry out to suit the intermediate tires. Has a huge moment. He goes a little bit off track, touches the grass, and that's an easy enough overtake from Malusi. Kapoza, will he be able to take advantage? Not quite. Kapoza will have to fight it out. Teppo Temba will not make it easy. Malusi will say thank you very much. I will now think about this 6.3 second gap. 6.3 seconds as Fiklik crosses the line to say 118.4. Kapoza finally gets that overtake done, and he is ahead of the Ferrari up to P3. It is Haas, Mercedes, and Williams in the top 3 spots as Teppo Temba actually comes into the pits there. So Lungs is the person that Kapoza will now have to think about. But Kapoza is fighting with Malusi the Malusi and has about 84% thereabouts with the battery power remaining. Malusi the Malusi takes a nice clean apex of that left-hander and does not go as tight through the second left-hander here. Meanwhile, Bankobi is fighting against Romeo. It was versus D-Wax, but now he has Romeo in his sights. Let's see what Bankobi can do here. It's a potential beautiful overtake here on the AlphaTauri. Can he get it done? Beautiful battles all throughout the grid here, and we'll get back to that fight for P2 as Sikle leads this race by a factor of 8.5 seconds, 8.5 seconds. We've had 2 safety cars, by the way. And look at that gap that Sikle is building. It's 9 seconds now as Bankobi thinks about it, but does not take unnecessary risks. Mandla goes wider on the exit, but Bankobi tries he might, cannot get that move done. Meanwhile, Kapoza is on the verge here. He tucks on the inside. They're side by side. It's wheel-to-wheel racing here, but Malusi the Malusi manages. No, not quite. Kapoza's up to P2 coming into turn 1. Beautiful racing. He's on the inside line. He's got the advantage. And Malusi, oh, will they make contact? No. Almost made contact with the rear right, but Kapoza gets the advantage. Oh, does not get such a clean exit. Malusi will take full advantage. 2/10 now, the gap between these two. And Malusi tucks it and gets a clean run down this main straight, or rather down this straight into the left-hander. Kapoza manages to keep hold of that P2 spot. Beautiful racing from the Williams driver. Meanwhile, Bankobi versus Romeo, same straight, and he tucks into the inside line, and he's nowhere close enough. He's going to have to bide his time again here. Beautiful battles all throughout. Teppo Temba is fighting on the same stretch of track. He's fighting with Zotal, who defends stoutly in that Alpine, does not get to go overtake. Teppo Temba thinks about it. The track will narrow out here. Zotal positions his car to make life difficult, but Teppo Temba, of course, could not get that move done, and now they're going to come into this tight, twisty section of the track, going down the hill before they point those cars up towards the main straight eventually. Beautiful battling, beautiful racing all throughout the track. Sikle crosses the line 11, almost 12 seconds ahead of Kapoza to set another fastest lap. Absolutely beautiful stuff from the champion, and absolutely beautiful battles all around. Zotal manages to get a bit of breathing space between himself and Teppo Temba. The gap now 7/10. Can Teppo Temba bridge it? No, Zotal gets a beautiful exit towards this main straight, climbing up this final hill and pointing that Ferrari straight, tucking into the slipstream of the Alpine, but nowhere near close enough to challenge towards turn 1. Zotal will have that line and hang on to that advantage now. Meanwhile, the battle between Bankobi and Romeo, aka Mandla, still rages on with 13 laps out of 36 gone. D-Wax is still there and thereabouts. He can pretty much see the battle taking place ahead of him, that being between Mandla and Bankobi. Bankobi sparing his battery power, not using too much. Ooh, he brakes much later than Mandla and trims that gap down to 3/10. What can Mandla do here? Can he hang on? He went wide through this exact corner a couple of laps ago, but he manages to keep it tight and making Bankobi go the long way around if He's going to attempt an audacious overtake, but not this time around. Ban Kobe still hanging on to that P6 as Seaclay sets another fastest lap. It's Seaclay versus himself as far as the fastest lap is concerned. 13 seconds is Seaclay ahead of Kapoza running in P2, but this is the battle for P5. Mandla versus Ban Kobe. He keeps it tight, keeps it together, and Ban Kobe not yet able to get this overtake done, but they're gonna attempt to do so on this run towards turn 1. Will Ban Kobe have something to say here? No, he doesn't look like he's gonna be anywhere near close enough, and Mandla hangs on there absolutely beautifully. Ban Kobe is still tucked right behind that Alpha Tauri, and this is going to be another opportunity. They're going to go side by side. Will they? Will Ban Kobe use his battery? He does, but he's tucked back into the slipstream of the Alpha Tauri. He's not going to get that move done. His battery power still hovering around the 50% mark. Tempo Temba almost went side by side there with Zotile, but did not quite have enough to get that move done. Also been thinking about it. These are the two battles to watch. Alpine versus Ferrari and McLaren versus AlphaTauri a little bit further ahead. Can Seppo Temba get this done? Of course, you can't take too many risks at this time of the race. There's still a lot of racing to go. The conditions are still not exactly the easiest, and if it was dry conditions, perhaps by now he would have been brave enough to go for that move. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Stanley Mazanti says, I love how they give each other some space. Some people can't keep their lane even on a dry track. Manray says, breaking assist off makes life very difficult, let alone in wet conditions. Absolutely, these are the top tier drivers, meaning they do not have the advantage of all those assists, as these two fight it out towards turn 1. Further ahead, Ban Kobe is still struggling to overtake Mandla. It's beautiful stuff. Beautiful defending from Zotile. Oh, Ban Kobe has crashed out. Ban Kobe has crashed out. Presumably, he came unstuck trying to overtake this man, and he becomes, Tempo Temba has crashed out. Two drivers in the same lap. Two drivers who were chasing, hoping to get an overtake, have both crashed out. Tempo Temba and Ban Kobe become drivers 5 and 6 to crash out in a rainy Interlagos. And Ban Kobe will be seething. He was seething. We were watching this battle a couple of minutes ago, seemingly trying to get that move done on this man, but could not. And as Tempo Temba was trying to overtake Zotile, he came unstuck, bringing out another safety car, lap 15 of 36. Oh man, drama. Absolute drama here at Interlagos. We've lost 2 more drivers, 2 absolutely quick drivers, I would have you know, who could have had so much to say as far as the points distribution of this race are concerned. And now, well, Kapoza, Malusi, Lungs, Mandla, Dwax, Zotile, Tapiso, well, they will have something to say here. Of course, the back 3 are still ghosted, so everybody up until Tapiso, keep it together, and it's a guaranteed points finish if we no longer have any DNFs for the remainder of this race. Under safety car, they will all bunch up once again behind Seaclay, and Kapoza and Seppo Temba, in dramatic fashion, become the latest 2 drivers to crash out. If you've just joined us, what a day it's been. We had a beautiful, beautiful sprint race, a beautifully dramatic sprint race, and well, the main race, the feature race, has given us drama aplenty as well. Seaclay, your championship leader, at some point had a 13-second lead from the pack. He still leads the pack by, of course, they will all be bunched up now behind the safety car. It is Seaclay from Kapoza, from Malusi the Malusi in that Mercedes W13, and Lungs as the top runners. No penalties thus far. Seaclay comes into the pits, and well, the rest of the pack follows suit. Nobody wants to be caught off guard as far as the tire strategy is concerned. Will it dry up towards the end here? Well, with the hard tires, Seaclay suggests yes, it will. Seaclay and Malusi the Malusi and Lungs go for the hard tires. Kapoza, with a ballsy strategy in comparison, has opted for medium compound tires. Romeo, aka Mandla, also fits a set of hard tires. What about D-Wax? It's a double stack for AlphaTauri, also hards. Zotal finally comes into the pits and will follow suit. Cepiso for Ferrari, whose teammate is gone. The hopes of the Scuderia rest on his shoulders. Soft tires? Well, that is absolutely interesting. Cepiso with, by far and away, the ultimate strategy here. P8, he needs to just keep it together. We'll finish in the points. He will have, I suppose, the biggest advantage when the race restarts, but that is quite surprising indeed. Cepiso comes through unscathed in the pit lane that claimed Loveness, quite dramatically earlier on in the race, but he comes back out onto the track. And as you see from his vantage point, the track is dry in a very, very quick time. The track is dried out. Expect the stewards to enable DRS and, well, to allow for some pretty interesting overtaking towards the rest of this race. Now the ghosts of Liddy and the rest round off the back of the pack. Sequay leads this race and weaves his car to the left and the right to try and get a semblance of tire temperature. Now, Sequay and the rest of the hard tire runners are definitely going to have their work cut out for them as far as making sure that they have enough, or rather a good enough temperature at the race restart when the safety car finally comes back in. So that's definitely one to watch. D-Wax has given up his hard tire strategy. Was that a wing change perhaps for D-Wax? He's back in the pit. He had pitted for hards. What is he going to do now? Is he going to go for mediums perhaps? Now that the safety car is going back in, perhaps just knowing that all these other drivers are ghosted, he figures I have nothing to lose. And yeah, comes, he pits there. Looks like it might have been a wing change as well. For D-Wax, medium tires alongside Caboza. Cepiso on the softs. He's going to be very interesting to watch at the race restart. And they're going to join the procession. And not too, he's got his work cut out for him, D-Wax. He just needs to send it down this straight turn, straight and into this left-hander, and will soon find himself at the back of the pack. Now, championship leader Sequay has pretty much had a virtually unchallenged season. Josh, aka Damnesia, the only man to claim a race win apart from Sequay, who has been imperious in sensational form throughout the season, and once again leading the pack ahead of Caboza and Malusi the Malusi as race control gives the notice that the safety car is in this lap. If you just joined us, thank you for choosing Breakaway League Racing. Conditions are dry. It was dramatic in the wet. But now, hopefully, we will have uninterrupted racing. And what can Sequay do here towards the end? Will he catch Caboza napping? That is the question. There he is. Caboza has to stay behind the ghost, remember? And Sequay finally sends it. And Caboza activates his battery. But look, will Sequay, how much of an advantage will Sequay get? Coming into turn one, Malusi is there and thereabouts, but he's not close enough. Oh, Lungs overtakes Malusi on those hard tires, and he's up to P3. Is the Red Bull driver Malusi on the restart struggling once again, and he's going to have to be careful because he's under attack from Romeo. Now Malusi is looking to reclaim his spot from Lungs, but it's Sequay from Caboza, from Lungs, from Malusi to Malusi, and Romeo tucks right side by side, and Romeo is ahead of Malusi to Malusi, coming through this left-hander, and Malusi will reclaim his spot. Absolutely sensational stuff as Zotel thinks about the overtake, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to Mandla to get that move done. Lungs has overtaken Malusi the Malusi, who will be kicking himself because, as things stand, he's on the verge of slipping out of the DRS of Lungs in the Red Bull running ahead of him. As you see ahead of Lungs, of course, is Caboza, who's fallen behind by a factor of almost 2 seconds. The tenths are building up. It's 1.8 seconds that Sequay has, the gap between himself and Caboza. Soon to be 2 seconds if Caboza does not manage to keep his composure and keep those tenths tight. Malusi now draining that battery down to about 75 or so percent. trying to hang on to the coattails of the Red Bull in front of him. He's managed to build some breathing space between himself and Mandla, who's under a threat from Zotal going on the outside, but he's not going to be close enough to get this overtake done. Zotal has Tepiso behind him, who you would remember has a soft compound of tire to contend with, and as I say that, it looks like Zotal might just go for it on the inside into the left-hander, but he's not going to be close enough. Despite using some of that battery power, he's nowhere near close enough. Seaflay lost a bit of an initiative. Might have been a mistake further ahead because Caboza is creeping up on the race leader, and he's about half a second, or just over half a second, behind Seaflay is Caboza. But let's watch this battle between Mandla and Zotal. Alpine versus AlphaTauri. Oh, Zotal breaks late, loses momentum, and Tepiso is now right on his tail, as is D-Wax. So Zotal has it all to do here. He needs to keep it together and hang on to the back of that AlphaTauri because the Tepiso will be right there and there about lap 20 of 36. The hard tire runners will not need to worry about their tire preparation towards the end of this race. More than enough. As far as that is concerned, Tepiso falls far and away behind Zotal. Will not be close enough to get that move done. Meanwhile, D-Wax can smell a potential overtake. Can he get it done? D-Wax at the back of the active runners currently, as the race stewards have enabled DRS, I believe, on lap 21 of 36. D-Wax tucks right behind that Ferrari, but not quite close enough to effect an overtake as things stand. Whew, we're hoping some beautiful, beautiful DRS trains. Let's hop back in the battle between Malusi the Malusi and Lungs. He struggled, did Malusi, at the restart for some grip and tire temperature, and Lungs is hanging on. We saw how stoutly Lungs defended against the likes of Seaflay in the sprint race. Can he do the same? Well, expect him to do so. Expect Malusi to have a hard time overtaking the Red Bull this time around. Caboza hanging on, 1.1 seconds behind the race leader, and as you look towards the far left ahead of the Red Bull and the final corner, that is Caboza ahead of this battle between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. D-Wax is on the verge of a potential overtake here. He's tucked right behind the Ferrari, who weaves to the left and the right. Tepiso looking to break the slipstream, looking to take whatever advantage he can away from the AlphaTauri, who's going to choose the outside line going into turn one, but he's not going to be close enough. He hugs the apex, does D-Wax on both the left and the right-hander, almost taking advantage of track limits there. He's going to have to watch out for those track limit warnings, but he's tucked right behind, and he goes side by side down D-Wax, and will he get this move done? Coming into the left-hander, the answer is yes, and Tepiso has to relent and settle for P8 on those soft tires. And it looks like Zotal, has had a huge mistake. He slipped out of the reckoning. Perhaps it was his spin. Zotal was fighting with Mandla, but finds himself at the back of the pack now. Oh man, Wendell Chesney, Tepiso says Tepiso could not make those softs sing. Absolutely. Tepiso now languishing in P7 as Zotal loses all of that momentum and finds himself in P8 after what could have been a memorable battle for those top 5 spots. Zotal is now going to have to fight his way back with the remaining laps that we have out here. Seaflay leads this race. What a beautiful day it's been for the Haas driver. Controlled, collected, imperious, superb, again in lap 23 of 36 from Caboza, who is now coming through turn 1 on those medium compound tires. Beautiful drive for him. It would be by far and away a season's best performance for the Williams driver. He needs to keep it together, and he needs to watch those medium tires towards the end. Remember, he might struggle with the tire deg towards the end. Meanwhile, Malusi versus Lungs. That gap between these two is about half a second. One that we've watched quite closely, but Lungs has fallen about 3 seconds behind the Williams of Caboza, who was hanging on for dear life at the back of the Haas. Malusi the Malusi is going to bide his time. Malusi is not one for overly risky overtakes. He likes to chip away at the car ahead, tuck right behind into the slipstream, and get nice clean overtakes, either on the straight or towards the end of a straight into one of the first braking zones. So if we do have the privilege of seeing a Malusi overtake here, just pay attention to how clean and composed it'll be. But as I say that, he loses momentum. He's fallen way out of DRS. 1.5 seconds, losing so much momentum away from Lungs, who is now inching closer and closer towards Caboza. So Malusi the Malusi really not having the best of races as far as keeping things consistent is concerned, but he's still thereabouts. Zotal is the quickest man on track on those hard tires. Sets a 111.405, does the Alpine driver on a recovery drive. Sadly, Salvi Sango says, since I'm hosting Mello, I wonder if his wheel works without power. I need to use the plug his console is connected on. Interesting.
Sanela, okay, plug yaka Melusi lapho. Ufake igedlela uyenza itiye lapho. Sibona ukuthi Melusi angakhupha kanjani. Udisconnect steering wheel. Hey, ngaba dramatic there.
Brown Boy urging Selby to disconnect there. Let's see. Wendell Chesney also urging Selby to do the same. An injection of some drama here. Let's hop on board with Lungs, codenamed Yuzu. That gap between himself and Kaboza now 2.7 seconds. Remember, it was over 3 seconds at some point. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. I wonder who that might be for. Could that be Zotal? Could that have been Zotal? It might have been, because the gap between him and Tapiso is now 9 seconds. Zotal, nightmare of a race for the Alpine driver, who's got it all to do now, and will be hoping for another safety car for the pack to get bunched up once again. Kaboza, what a day for him! He's not quite hanging on to the coattails of Seaflake, in the sense that he smelled the fumes, but he's there and thereabouts. He has not slipped beyond too far out of the 3-second mark, if you will. So he's hanging on, is Kaboza. And right now, we'll soon have 10 laps of racing to go. And Kaboza's tires towards the end of this race will definitely be screaming as far as the grip is concerned. So he's going to have to keep things nice and steady, will Kaboza, and keep Lungs at bay. Lungs has fallen back by about 3.2 seconds. Malusi the Malusi was on Lungs' coattails once upon a time. And right now, that is not necessarily the case. He's got it all to do, does Malusi the Malusi. Mandla, what a day for him. What a finish this would be if he can keep it together. The AlphaTauris running hand in hand, if you will. Mandla's battery power is down at about 3% because he knows that his teammate, whose battery power is significantly higher, has about 25 or so percent. Mandla knows that his teammate is on the verge here of a potential overtake. And if Mandla can keep it together here, it would be, by some margin, his best finish in a main race of the season so far. He finished on the podium in the sprint race, but in the main race at Imola, he finished P9. But his best season's finish, Mandla, was that P8 in Singapore. So Mandla is on the verge of a beautiful, beautiful day as far as point hauls are concerned. Mandla has vowed, loudly and proudly and publicly that he will no longer take part in a playoffs to maintain his spot in Tier 1. Well, right now, he's well on course to a very, very good point haul here in Brazil, and that'll put him in good stead to make sure that he maintains his promise and stays well within the championship points and in a spot that does not need him to take part in the stress of a playoff race. Well, D-Wax is here. D-Wax is side by side. D-Wax is ahead of Mandla going into turn 1. The AlphaTauri swapping positions, and it could have well been a fighting type of overtake, or it could have been a team game with D-Wax potentially giving Mandla the DRS. But as I say that, no, D-Wax breaks out of Mandla's DRS. So it looks like Mandla's going to have to fight his way back into the reckoning here. And as I say that, Tapiso, who's gone with an alternate strategy by every stretch of the imagination, Tapiso is now inching closer and closer to the back of that AlphaTauri. Tapiso versus Mandla soon enough. There goes Mandla at the top of that little portion of the hill. Takes the right-hander, does Mandla. Tapiso hugs the apex of both the right and this left-hander. 10-lap old soft tires. Man, he's going to be one to watch. Will be Tapiso towards the end here. Remember, Zotal at some point was about 9 seconds behind the Ferrari. Has trimmed that gap down by a factor of 3 seconds. Is Zotal. He's on the verge of a points finish here. He just needs to bring the car home. Everybody just needs to keep calm, bring the car home, and we're going to have a solid points finish for everybody here. Mandla versus D-Wax. He's back within DRS. His battery power has been depleted significantly, but now that gap is about half a second. And they're going to lap the ghosted brown boy as Zotal Tapiso comes into the pit. Finally, he's going to, go back to the back of the pack with Tapiso. Will there be another set of stock tires for Tapiso? The answer is yes. Tapiso will finish this race on a fresh set of stock tires as we are now watching the battle between the AlphaTauris, Mandla versus Ngawako, aka D-Wax. Now, we've spoken about Mandla and his prospects. Mandla and his vow to finish, to maintain his spot in Tier 1 without the necessity of playoffs. D-Wax, meanwhile, also needs the points. He has just 12 points, does D-Wax. D-Wax is currently 16th. He's currently mired in the playoff spots as D-Wax. He's going to want to get out ahead of that. And Mandla, through the final sector of this track, has slipped out of the DRS of his teammate there. So Zotal is inching his way closer and closer towards the battle, but it looks like he's lost a bit of momentum. He was 6 seconds behind those AlphaTauris. Now 7.1 seconds is Zotal in the Alpine there. They've made their way past the first couple of turns, have the Alpines. So let's go back to our race leader, Seaflay, has once again kept things clean. We have about soon to be 6 laps of racing out here in Brazil. He's been unbowed, unbent, unbroken, unchallenged, has Seaflay. And Caboza on those medium tires. Perhaps he's really struggling finally for grip, is Caboza. 4.7 seconds behind the race leader. He's just going to have to keep things uneventful. Do not get involved. Caboza's going to be getting all the advice from the team there as far as Lungs' prospects of creeping closer and closer are concerned. So he's managing to keep Lungs at bay. That gap has consistently been around the 3-second mark. And here comes Lungs through turn 1 and 2, followed by Malusi the Malusi, of course, who was fairly close to Lungs at some point, but really lost a lot of momentum. The AlphaTauris behind Malusi the Malusi are about 5 seconds behind. So he's managed to keep things nice and steady. Lap 30 of 36. Seaflay leads from Caboza from Lungs in the prospective podium places. Will they hang on? Tapiso goes quickest on those brand new soft tires. Now, Seaflay is quite fond of claiming the fastest lap in every race, but he does not have nearly enough room to come into the pits for those soft tires. And he would have way too much work to do to claim the race win again after those string of back-to-back race wins for Seaflay. He's not going to want to risk it for the biscuit. So Malusi the Malusi is inching closer and closer. He's trimmed that gap by a couple of tenths, 1.9 now. There goes Lungs in the distance on the horizon towards the first turn. And let's see how Malusi takes it. Tight on the apex in turn 1 and 2, as well as 3 beautiful lines he takes. And this load shedding once again has really robbed us of some classic battles as far as the title race is concerned. Malusi 61 points since the start of the season. Before this race, Malusi is P5 in the championship. Ahead of Malusi by a factor of 3 points is Zotal, of course. But he's this man, Zotal, still fighting his way from the back of the pack. Managed to trim that gap a little bit, 5.1 seconds to the back of Romeo, aka Mandla. P6, he would have wanted that P5, Mandla, but P6 would still represent his best finish in a feature race thus far. So he will not be complaining. D-Wax will also be smiling, grinning from ear to ear. D-Wax's best finish thus far has been P6, I believe. Yes, P6. He finished 6th at D-Wax in Monaco. So this would definitely, of course, better that by, just the solitary position. But it's still a solid points haul for D-Wax if he can keep it together here from his teammate Mandla. As you get a beautiful overhead helicopter shot of Mandla coming through those first sequences of corners. Zotal is going to have to keep his work clean to catch up to this pack. Meanwhile, the gap has slowly and surely been stretching out. It's 6 seconds that Seaclay is ahead of Kaboza on those medium tires. I'm pretty sure by now Kaboza and D-Wax might be at a slight disadvantage, perhaps, depending on their driving style. The grip levels might yet have something to say towards the final couple of laps here. It will soon, of course, be 3 laps of racing to go because Seaclay has crossed the line. The fastest man on track is still Tapiso on those soft tires. Of course, he's so far behind Zotal. He's behind by a factor of about 20 seconds as the Ferrari driver. He's contending with the Ghost of Liddy and Neville, and goes straight through them and inches closer and closer towards the back of Zotal. But definitely got his work cut out. Lungs! What a day would be for him. Another podium finish for the Red Bull driver. He's had a couple. He struggled, did Lungs. No points in the first 3 races of the season. And then he backed that up with consecutive third-place finishes in Jeddah and Baku. Lungs claiming those podiums, and he was on the podium once again in Imola. P3! Well, that, of course, has been his best finish thus far. And he'll definitely be looking to claim a P2 and eventually P1 spot before the season is over. Looks like Mandla has caught up to the back of his teammate. And has he been sparing that battery power? Yes, 35% or so for Mandla, but D-Wax has also been doing the same. Huge advantage for D-Wax as far as battery power is concerned. He has about 50% more battery power than Mandla, who will activate ERS as well as DRS and send that battery down towards the team. But D-Wax just needs to keep his composure, and perhaps he will know just how much of an advantage he has as far as battery power is concerned. And on the straight, he's going to make Mandla work. Mandla will open up that rear wing towards the left-hander, and D-Wax has no DRS, but he'll just use as much battery power as he needs, and he's just going to chip away at Mandla's battery here towards the end of this race. 7/10 between the two AlphaTauris. Can Mandla go one step further than the P6, which would be his best race finish by a factor of 2 places? Well, he tucks right behind his teammate through the right-hander, and D-Wax stretches that margin back to about half a second into the penultimate and the final corner, and they will point those AlphaTauris down the main straight. 40% with the battery power for Mandla, as well as DRS. He tries, he huffs, he puffs, but cannot depose D-Wax from that P5 spot. Zotal goes quickest. Hard tires sets a 111.2. Man, Zotal absolutely sending it. And would you look at that? Zotal, remember that gap at some point was about 6 seconds. And now Zotal finds himself almost within DRS of the AlphaTauris within him. But he's got one more lap to inch closer and closer and potentially get DRS on Mandla. But he's going to have his work cut out because Mandla is absolutely pushing as he has a moment through the curbs there. Ooh, D-Wax goes wide. Mandla will inch closer and closer. He'll tuck right behind his teammate. And as these two battle, there comes Zotal. About 1.2, perhaps soon to be 1.1 seconds, if these two can battle it out closely and have a moment. Push, teammate, push, says Brown Boy, willing Lungs on. Remember, this is the final lap, and Lungs is 1.3 seconds behind Kaboza in P2, who has slipped to 8 seconds behind Seaclay. It's a 3-way DRS chain here between these two. Romeo opens up his rear wing, and he's still not able to surpass his teammate. And now Zotal is going to have a run, especially towards this straight, as they battle towards the left-hander. Romeo goes side by side. Romeo goes ahead into the left-hander. Can he hang on? Can he hang on? The answer is yes. And Zoltal's going to look to tuck in behind P-Wax. But can he get it done? No. He goes a little bit off track of Zoltal, loses momentum, but he's still within a tenth of this potential overtake. It's a beautiful last lap battle. Oh, Zoltal has lost.
Ayamchaza uthile makaspine kanje. Ayamchaza njalo. Ngiyazi ukuthi drive iPM mara into ukuthi aspine kuma race amana yikho great.
All right, let's watch the race leader. Seasley's going to bring it home and win the race with the fastest lap. 1:11.0, 10 seconds ahead of Composer, who's on the verge of a memorable P2 finish. It is his best finish to a race of the season by far. Finishes 1.9 seconds ahead of Malusi the Malusi, who overtook Lungs towards the end as we were watching the battle at the back. P3 for Malusi the Malusi. A beautiful finish for him. Lungs brings it home in P4. What about D-Wax? He kept Mandla at bay for P5 and P6. It is their best finishes of the season for the AlphaTauri pair. Beautiful stuff from them. And Zotal, who was there and thereabouts in that battle towards the end, took an almighty spin, and he will do the same.
Ayamchaza uthile makaspine. But who I spin around that? Come on, this is overtake mara spine.
Yes, I could not understand it as well, but Zotal will finish P7. Zapiso will bring it home for P8 and be the last to cross the line here as the active runners out here in Brazil at Interlagos. Oh my word, what a beautiful race we have had. And the first man to join us in the commentary box, he's hopped straight out of that Haas, is none other than your championship leader, your race winner, Seasley. Congratulations. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Take us through that sprint race. You had some beautiful, beautiful battles with Lungs. Take us through that race. Congratulations, man.
Hey, thanks, Tyson. Yeah, that was how. Honestly, it was how, because I knew that it would rain. Hence why I was practicing and everything. So I came up with a strategy, did my research, and it did rain. But it's gonna rain the entire race. And found out it's gonna rain half of the race, and my tire pressures were full.
Yeah.
So I couldn't drive the way I practiced for the dries, which sucked. And I had obviously made a few adjustments to the setup against my tires and front wing. And yeah, it ruined my straight line as well, because I was dependent on corners, and that was about it.
Yeah, and man, it was again beautiful recovery. There was drama in the sprint race, but you managed to fight your way up the pack in beautiful, beautiful fashion. That was absolutely sensational to see. From the comments, I'd love to hear your driver of the day. I forgot to ask you that, so let us know in the comment section who your driver of the day is. Kaboza, P2, by far the best race of your season thus far. Take us through the sprint, take us through the feature race. Congratulations.
Yo. It's good to be back, I guess. Yo, I haven't racing in a while, so coming in, I didn't have any practice, and when the rain, it threw me off a bit. But I had a terrible sprint race. I crashed into, I think, Ludi span, so I just lost my ring first lap. But then I had a good recovery drive. I think I finished P6. Then I had a good start in the rain. I was also in Seatler's position, so with terms of setup. So the weather said they're just gonna rain the whole race. So my setup, but at least I lowered my wings a bit because I wanted to challenge myself with driving with a more drier setup. For doing the wets, and in the when the changing conditions to the dries, I saw that I was catching Sihle a lot on the streets, but I was losing time in sector 2. So I just said, because I'm on mediums, I mustn't push, but I need to just save those tires until the end, and just to fight off Lungs and Melo who were behind. But
man, that was beautiful. Kaposa, I just want to hear as well, you were one of the few drivers who did not select hard tires as the changeover to slicks was happening. How concerned were you? You managed to keep it together. Lungs, you managed to keep him at bay by a factor mostly of about 3 seconds. How concerned were you, and how did that feel towards the end?
I knew that at the end they were gonna come back with Melo, but my strategy was I wanted to Sihle for as long as I could and just build that gap. And he actually
Yeah,
caught me at the end. It was less than a second in the
yeah.
final lap, but I think he lost this in the final corner. So I just wanted to build up that gap during the time when my tires were good, and then try and make sure that I have enough areas to defend at the end. And I think it worked out, but I was a bit lucky that he spun there.
Oh man, beautiful stuff. Congratulations, composer. Malusi the Malusi is on the podium. It's a P3 spot, back on the podium, back among the top runners. Take us through that, especially the restarts after the safety cars, Malusi. Congratulations. Yeah. 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 Wow.
Oh,
And could you take us through what happened with the Lungs there? We were watching a battle towards the back of Mandla and I think Zotal and DUX. What happened what happened with Lungs there at the end? Yeah. All right. All right. Man. Absolutely incredible stuff from all three of you. Sikle, again, controlled from the beginning to the end. And the Malusi Kaposa giving us some beautiful, beautiful racing out here. We really, really hope that we won't be disturbed too much by load shedding because when so many of you guys are involved, the race is so different. And of course, that much richer for the experience, especially with so much talent on the grid. Congratulations, everybody. We will be seeing you on Tuesday at
no, sorry,
Yes.
Tyson. No, tier twos are about to race now, so just wanted to.
Tier
Yes, yes.
2 is on the verge of racing right now. So we're going to wrap up this here stream. And do stay tuned for Tier 2. A couple of shouts for Kaboza for Driver of the Day. And Seacliff and of course, Seatley taking this race with aplomb once again. Congratulations, gentlemen. Tier 2 coming up next. Keep it locked to Breakaway Racing League.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nice race, Jens.